Hello everyone, I'm Alan Reiss. I'm Director of Strategy, Communications and Policing at the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, the Leeds City Region Enterprise Partnership, and I work with the Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. I'm here today to talk about what levelling up means for West Yorkshire and how we are using data. So firstly, what do we mean by levelling up? So from our perspective, firstly, levelling up means levelling up within West Yorkshire. We need to be able to support disadvantaged groups who are spread unevenly across the region and specific left behind communities to reach their potential and have access to opportunity. And secondly, for the region overall to increase its economic contribution in terms of higher income, employment and productivity, and thereby catch up with more prosperous regions. Those two ambitions are linked. By raising up our communities facing disadvantage, we will raise the economic output of the whole region. We would expect that the Levelling Up white paper will set out the indicators by which progress will be measured. And from our perspective, key elements of levelling up include empowerment, freedom, and flexibility in the roles of regional and local institutions so that people are able and places are able to deliver an integrated agenda in partnership with government, including skills, housing, infrastructure, and transport. It means achieving a more balanced economy by reducing disparities between different parts of the country. It means growing the private sector, raising living standards, especially in poorer places, spreading opportunity, improving public services, connecting people to opportunity through the transport system and investment in digital infrastructure, and restoring local pride, keeping streets safe, and reinvigorating vibrant town centres. Now I'm going to start to set the scene by giving an example of the issue. This slide is about life expectancy. Now, often we talk about the inequalities between the North and the South. However, levelling up means tackling inequalities within the region too. And often those inequalities are more marked than they are nationally. So for instance, as shown on this graph, on average, a boy or a girl born in an area of Leeds that falls within the most deprived, lowest 10% by index of multiple deprivation neighbourhood in England will live 11.3 for boys or 9.4 years for girls, fewer than a boy or girl born in an area of Leeds that falls within the least deprived neighbourhoods. That means that what we would call the slope of inequality, so the gap between the most deprived and the least, is steeper in parts of West Yorkshire than England overall. And the gap between life expectancy of people living in the wealthiest areas of Leeds and the poorest is statistically significantly larger than the England average. So in terms of our work, what role is data playing? I'm going to give three examples. One about our overall approach, one focused on skills, and one focused on transport. So the first is about our overall approach to monitoring our progress towards our vision and priorities for West Yorkshire. This is through something called the State of the Region. The State of the Region is a key document produced by the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, which provides an objective and comprehensive picture of West Yorkshire's progress against a basket of 40 headline indicators aligned to our strategic priorities. The first edition of the report, together with an interactive dashboard, was published on the 25th of October this year. It provides an insight into aspects of West Yorkshire's performance against the levelling up agenda. The example that I'm showing here is the dashboard in relation to the region's ambitions to tackle the climate emergency. But there's a whole, there are 40 other indicators that are shown within the document as well. So for example, we have lower productivity, which constrains economic growth and improvements in local living standards. We need to improve the size of our business sector. We need to do better on educational attainment and skills, although we are narrowing the gap with the national average. The scale of the challenge in decarbonising the economy in order to achieve net zero is significant. We are making progress on transport in order to connect our communities and make it easier to get to work, do business and connect with each other. And a really interesting indicator, we are the only mayoral combined authority region outside of London to be a net fiscal contributor to the UK economy. Now the paper examines disparities across West Yorkshire, and there are lots of important differences between areas, between local authorities and within local authorities. And we've also, as part of this work, published for the first time a report which looks specifically at the state of the region from the perspective of women and girls, which shows, for instance, that whilst women on average tend to have higher skills, that they are also less likely to be in employment and on average have lower paid jobs. This is really important for policymakers when exploring how to tackle inequality and ensuring that levelling up means addressing the needs of different people. And in the future, next year, we're also going to publish a report focusing on other aspects of equality, diversity, and inclusion, for instance, looking at race and differences between people from different racial backgrounds. The state of the region primarily draws on published statistics, and there are limitations with these even at a local authority level, but doubly so for smaller areas within local authorities where much of the difference lies. And the forthcoming Levelling Up dashboard, which is being jointly developed by the Cabinet Office and the Office for National Statistics, unlocks a range of new indicators and data that will increase our insight and enable us to better measure local progress on the Levelling Up agenda. The following examples show how we use a range of data beyond official statistics to support action around levelling up in West Yorkshire. Firstly, we're going to look at skills. So adult skills are key to levelling up. We know that much of the difference in productivity performance between local areas is due to skills disparities. And we also know that acquiring skills can have a big impact on an individual's prospects in terms of getting a job, progressing in their employment, and increasing their pay. And it also plays a role in community cohesion. As part of different devolution deals, each mayoral combined authority has taken responsibility for the management of the adult education budget in its local area, and West Yorkshire Combined Authority took on this role on the 1st of August this year. This provides a key example of how we can use data to support the exercise of devolved powers and improve on the one-size-fits-all approach that was brought by the national model. So in West Yorkshire, adult education budget, or the AEB, is worth £65 million a year. Although it forms a relatively small part of the skills landscape, it is a programme of considerable size in absolute terms. So before the pandemic, there were around 40,000 learners per year undertaking adult skills courses in West Yorkshire and around 21,000 participants on community learning courses. Alongside the devolution of funding and the powers comes access to a huge amount of rich data about adult learners and the learning that they undertake. And each month of the academic year, the Combined Authority receives detailed data from the government's individualised learner record. We can use this management information to pay and contract manage our colleges and other education and training providers. But there's also a strategic opportunity to use the data to ensure that the investment in adult learning is supporting our economic priorities around boosting productivity and enabling inclusive growth by helping us to answer key questions, such as how do the courses that learners pursue align to areas of growth in the local economy and the available job opportunities? How effective are different learning programs in supporting people into work or in progressing into further study? To what extent is the adult learning offer supporting equality, diversity, and inclusion in terms of access to learning and positive outcomes? And key groups include people from ethnic minorities, women, and people with disabilities, adults who lack qualifications or have basic literacy and numeracy needs, people who are in low-paid jobs, and people who are out of work and need support to enter employment, for instance, through sector-based work academies. So it's crucial work for levelling up and narrowing inequality. And throughout this academic year and beyond, we're going to be undertaking a detailed review of the data to inform our future strategy for adult education. And the aim is to maximise the impact of the investment and provide the best possible value for money. The third example that I'm going to use is about improving transport. Data has and will continue to play a fundamental role in how we, so the Combined Authority and its partners, shape plans for transport infrastructure improvements. The Combined Authority is working with the Mayor on a range of interventions, from quality of life improvements like the Bus Service Improvement Plan to game-changing plans like mass transit for West Yorkshire. And underpinning all of this work is a vast array of rich data. Transport should not be a barrier to people accessing jobs, to businesses choosing to invest in West Yorkshire, and to improving the health of our residents and people who come to visit here. Improvements in transport are a catalyst for change across all of these objectives. Investment in transport is not just about moving people, it's about the economy, the opportunity, and life chances. Our connectivity strategy is fundamentally about connecting people in areas of socioeconomic need with economic, further education and healthcare opportunities, as well as enabling access from new developments to economic opportunities and labour markets. And the map that I'm showing here illustrates the challenge in terms of inequality when accessing jobs by bus. So for instance, in 2019, 45% of households in the lowest income quintile, so the lowest 20%, did not have access to a car, compared with 24% across all income levels. And those in the lowest income quintile also made 23% more walking trips and 66% more bus trips than the average across all income levels. Because people in less well-off areas are less likely to have a car, their opportunities in terms of employment, education, and leisure are constrained. So presenting information like this on this map helps to inform how we improve public transport connections for these people and hence increase life chances. These maps were generated using accessibility software, which allows us to calculate the travel time between any origin and destination point by bus and car, this shows bus, based on their location relative to the road network, link speeds, and public transport timetables. It gives an insight into the extent to which we're improving accessibility by public transport, whether this is by improving its frequency, widening the coverage of the network, or increasing its speed. It's worth noting that we've seen an improvement in bus accessibility during the morning peak. In 2019-20, there were 5% more employments accessible by a bus from deprived communities than in 2018-19. This is an example of how we are using data to inform our approach at a granular level to improving transport through, for instance, the bus service improvement plan and the connectivity strategy, including mass transit. So by way of conclusion, just a few words on what we want to see in change in the government's approach and what we're hoping for in the white paper. So firstly, to build on what I said at the beginning, delays, for instance, the Levelling Up white paper itself, the slowing progress and creating continued uncertainty locally and regionally around roles, priorities, and these are frustrating plans for growth and recovery. We need greater certainty of secure, stable and fair local government funding and public sector resourcing to enable confidence, long-term planning, flexibility and innovation. We need the right level of devolved funding and more devolution of powers to fully empower the roles of directly elected mayors working with their local authorities to make the difference and drive a fair and inclusive economic recovery. And data and how we use it is essential for informing our approach. Thank you.